Well, Catherine, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come on here and talk about your new book with us, A Thousand Tiny Papercuts.
Yay!
Before we talk, we hit record, I told you how much I appreciate the book and how much I wish honestly, that was not hyperbole. I really wish I'd have had this book like 15 years ago. It would have saved, maybe even 20, it would have saved so much.
Such a huge compliment. Thank you so much for saying that. Very, very kind.
So you open the book right away with like this brutal truth that spiritual abuse isn't a sonic boom, right? It is this thousand little tiny paper cuts. How did you come to that metaphor, and then what did it open up for you?
Well, yeah, it was another survivor who first said it to me. It's like 1,000 tiny paper cuts. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's what it is. Like that captures it. And that's why it's so hard to pinpoint what's happening and what the damage is, because when we think of abuse still, we think of like bruises on the body or something really violent. And spiritual abuse is violent. It's just violent in a very different way. And it's very subtle. And it's wrapped up in this thing called Christianity that we have been conditioned to see as good. And it's just, there's so many just little itty bitty little things that just add up over time. And we don't know that anything is wrong until usually after the damage has already been caused.
I also think too, as you were talking, I think so many people will resonate. Well, obviously, I think a lot of people are going to resonate with this book and what we're talking about. But one of the things, and this isn't in my list of questions, but as you talked, it came up. So I grew up in a lot of the same kind of spaces, and I'm not quiet about it. Very fundamentalist. My parents were awesome. That's what saved me. What happened from the stage and in church didn't translate to home. So I credit my parents for saving me from a lot of stuff. However, there was a lot of things that I still walked away with that affected me even to now. And I struggle with the terms like spiritual abuse. I struggle with the terms of like church trauma or spiritual trauma, because I'm like, yeah, but is it? I'm fine. And it's not as bad as other people. I have heard so many stories that literally are a gazillion times worse than mine. And I'm just like, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Did the same thing. I was not comfortable using the word abuse, even though now I look back, I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, it absolutely was. And I couldn't use that word. And the community that I grew up in, it was probably only like 3 or 4 years ago that I was like, oh, this is a cult. I can use the word cult for this. It falls in every way under the category of cult. And that was just a couple years ago that I was comfortable using that. And there is so much negative association, obviously, with the word abuse. And it feels very extreme for people. Dr. Laura Anderson and some of her colleagues have coined the term adverse religious experiences, because people feel a little bit more comfortable using the words adverse religious experience, or just a harmful experience within religion, or high control religion, because that's often easier term to use than cult. And as a survivor, we get to choose whatever word works for us, right? Like if someone's not comfortable using the word abuse, like they're not comfortable using the word abuse. That doesn't necessarily change the facts of whether or not it was or not. But we can use whatever language works for us at the time. And sometimes it takes a minute for us to recognize. It's like a family system, right? Like when we grow up in a family system and we leave the family system where there was some abuse, it's really hard to acknowledge that there was abuse in our family system. It's the same thing with church or with a religious community that was our community, was a, good thing in a lot of ways. Usually it's never like typically full on awful. It's wrapped up in good things. Typically the good thing is the community. And to start using the word abuse on that community just feels like too much sometimes for folks. Very, normal. And I felt that way as well.
So at what point, when did you start feeling comfortable just naming it for what it was and not, I feel like one of the things that I do a lot is I maybe dismiss certain things because maybe they didn't rise to a certain level or maybe a preconceived notion. But when did you start feeling comfortable being able to just call it what it is? No, that's a cult. That was abuse. I'm just going to say it.
Yeah. When I was in seminary, I turned 30 while I was in seminary, and I started seeing the therapist for the first time. And I knew something was wrong with the way that I grew up, but I didn't know what. I was living to this place where I was like, something wasn't right. There was just some not good things about it. Even then, I wasn't using the word abuse. Didn't really have any language for that at all. But I just remember this longing inside of me for someone to call it that. Like, I just remember just wanting someone to acknowledge that this was really bad. And also at the same time, like, not wanting to really know how bad it was. It was just like this push-pull thing of like, I don't really want to look at it, but I also just need someone to say that this wasn't good. This was bad. And that the impact that I'm feeling right now, the struggle that I'm having right now is actually legitimate response to what I went through. And so, I can't remember fully I don't even remember if I put this in the book, like some conversation with my therapist. And it was like, she was like, do you want me to tell you that this, and it was like very much she's like, I want to let the client name things for themselves, like that kind of situation. And she's not wanting to tell me like, this is what happened to you. And so she was just kind of treading carefully. And she was like, do you want me to tell you that it was abuse? Because it was. Yes, it was. It was. Is that what you need me to say? And I was like, yes, I just need you to say that it was. And even then I didn't really know, what exactly that meant. There was another like maybe 5 years of continuing to unpack that. And then I landed in a church that a lot of very similar situation to the family that I grew up in. A lot of silencing, a lot of like rules, like unspoken rules, some very outright abuse happening. And a lot of the same dynamics started to be at play. And when I saw that, it was much easier for me to name it as abuse. I was like, we're not going to play any games. I'm not going to like, tiptoe around this. Like, this is actually happening. And it was a lot easier to name that as abuse because of the experience that I already had and all of the work that I'd already done with one community, and then kind of just mapping some of that onto the experience that I was having in that church. It was a lot easier. And then also at the same time, you're like, is it actually easier to know these things? It's like the Morpheus, why didn't I take the blue pill situation from the Matrix of like, am I really glad that I'm able to see these things and name these things? Or is ignorance just bliss? I don't know. I still can't answer that question.
You know what? Yes. I feel that so deeply. There's so many times where it's just like, there are moments, and this doesn't correlate. I mean, I'm not comparing the two things, but like, I can remember feeling so certain about so many things, right? Like, this is the way the world works, and this is what happens when and when we die. And there are moments where I'm just like, man, I miss that certainty.
Yeah.
I miss just thinking,
right.
And it was easy. And now it's just like, oh my God, there's like, what? Ugh. Yeah.
I'm beginning.
Sorry. Yeah. So you wrote a line that really kind of stopped me. You wrote that when a partner isolates or shames you, we call it abuse. But when a pastor does it, we call it discipleship.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of those, like, I read that. And of course, I've made, we all put things together through time. But then when you see something and it's worded so like just, it was one of those like, oh crap. That's literally it.
Yeah, it's real. It's real, right? They're doing it for your good. They're trying to save your soul. They're shepherding you. Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. All right. Um, I think I try to approach people with a good measure of giving them the benefit of the doubt, right? Like I think about my pastor growing up as a kid. I don't think that he purposefully did. He really didn't. He didn't purposely he didn't. Like you
Yeah.
hear a lot of
I'm
horror
not
stories,
here
right?
to cause misery. I'm
Right.
here. I want to do a good thing.
Right. And
Yes.
at the time of this recording, Robert Morris was just convicted and sentenced to freaking 6 months, like a joke. But anyway, that's not what we're talking about. So it's not that kind of horror story. But the things that he handed to me were feelings of worthlessness. I was terrified of hell to the point I developed a compulsion around a particular prayer at night. Said it well into my 30s before I even realized it's what it was. I couldn't physically go to sleep until I said this prayer into my adulthood. So those were the things that he kind of handed me that took a lot of work to undo. But I just, even now, knowing him, still having connection with him, I just don't think that that's what his intentions were. Now, the impact was completely different, right? Those are two different things. So is it do you think, because you talk about, not just personally, but also systemically, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that just what the system produces, even in the best people?
Yeah, absolutely. And it is like the chicken or the egg situation, right? Like what is the system just kind of creating these types of people? And then what is, people who are actually intentionally coming in and like, oh, I can use this Bible thing to gain power, and I can use this system to gain power. And then they were the ones who created the system. Which came first? I don't know that we know. And that is what you just named as I think probably way more complex and maybe even more painful. And I feel like I have experienced it as more painful when it's somebody is a good person with good intentions causing harm and doing it in the name of God and really believing that they are doing what is best for you and that they are caring about you in their harm. That to me is, for me and in my experience, was way more painful than the people who were just outright manipulating, exploiting, and controlling. And those people to me didn't cause as much damage as the good ones who we know were good people, right? Doing the same exact things, and usually doing the same exact things at the bidding of the genuine abusers who are absolutely intentionally, who are telling them this is what God requires from you. And they're just like, okay. Let me do that, because they're in the system. And it's still the most painful dynamic for me of just knowing people still in the system who are just beautiful, wonderful people who have empathy and compassion and are just roped into this thing operating out of the indoctrination that they grew up with, because that's all they've ever known. And they really think that they're honoring God by doing it.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because I feel like, and I have worked through it all, but especially when I stepped out of it and kind of did a whole, faith audit, basically just going line by line and okay, is this good? Is this healthy? Does this produce good thing? Blah, blah, blah. One of the things that I really experienced was, I think it's a very unique guilt, a very unique shame where, I could recognize, the things that it did in me. And that I also then, in turn, handed that to some other people. Now, not to the same extent, right?
Absolutely.
Even in my most conservative days, I was never a hellfire damnation kind of pastor. I didn't believe in it then. I don't believe in it now. But I still handed some really unhealthy things
for
to
sure.
people. And
100%.
when I realized that, I can't tell you how many phone calls and messages I sent to people, because I felt like I have got to apologize.
Sure.
That if I contributed to anybody else's religious trauma,
sure.
I'm sorry. I see it now, and you don't have to forgive me. I just need you to know that I see it, and I'm sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. On that note, back in the day when I was in the Christian patriarchy movement, there was this book, blanking on the name of the author, but the book is still around. I've Googled it recently. Um, it was called Created to Be His Helpmeet. It is an awful book.
Created to be his helpmate?
Created to be his helpmate. Yep.
Ugh, just the
Terrible, terrible book. It's terrible. And it was basically just like, this is the way men are. And women, you gotta, this is what you gotta do to make your man look good. Terrible book. Terrible book. Now I know that.
Yeah.
At the time that I read it, because it's written in this, and this is like how like the right and the wrong and the certainty, plays out and, why we don't see it is because, certainty temporarily soothes our nervous system. And when there is a book, like if you want a good marriage, here are the 5 things that you can do to have a great marriage, and you will be happy and wonderful and everything will work out great, and your husband will be successful and you will have money and you will have blah, 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 blah. And so this book comes to you and it is temporarily soothing to your nervous system. Like, oh, this is all I have to do. And everything, it just takes away the ambiguity. It takes away the uncertainty. And so this is a book that's like going around the community. Everyone's reading it. I'm only 20, but I'm also being conditioned to get married and have babies. Like that's what I was being conditioned to do. And so I bought the book, and I think I bought like 11 copies and like gave it to my friends. And then, I had kind of the same thing of just like, do I need to like call people? And I was like, I don't need, it was like, it literally is now like, I was 20, I'm 40 now. It was 20 years ago. And I was like, and I talked to a friend that I knew at the time, and I like called her. It was like maybe 5 years ago that I was like, do I need to like, I don't even know if I remember any of the people. It was like women in this Bible study that I was in. I was like, I don't even know if I remember who was in that. I don't know who, if I remember. I was like, I know that you were in it, and I know that I gave you a copy. And she was just like, I was in it too. I kind of remember it, but I don't know that I even read the book. I threw it away, whatever. And then she was also just like, don't own that. That wasn't you. That was indoctrination. That was conditioning. Somebody gave that to you. That's not you. That's not you. Don't take that on. No, you are not responsible for that. And she was just like, no, you do not need to chase people down. Don't.
Good, yeah.
But she was just like, no, that's not on you. That's not on you. And I look back at it. I agree with her. I was like, that was handed to me. I was like, oh, this thing soothed my nervous system. Let me give it to you to soothe your nervous system. And I have no idea. Again, I don't remember who was in that group. I don't remember who I gave it to, but also I'm just like, oh my gosh. Like, I bought it and I gave it to people with my own money.
I know.
I also burnt the book. So if anyone's listening and was in that Bible study, I burnt that book. I burnt it. I like literally ripped pages out and burnt it. It felt great. It felt awesome.
I bet it did.
Yeah. And if you have your copy, still burn it. Go for it.
Do it. Yeah. I at the time of this recording, there was a video that's going around of this young woman preacher, Millicent Cedra, I think her name is, and she's ripping into Pastor Jamal Bryant and accusing him of ethnic idolatry. That he's more loyal to his tribe and his race than he is to the Word of God. Blah blah blah.
Okay.
And being a kind of an outspoken progressive pastor, I just did a little response to it. And my response was very kind and very measured, and just inviting her to some introspection, because I said stupid stuff when I was a young pastor too. But now there's social media. Like there was no social media. And I'm just thinking about like,
we're so glad, right?
Yes.
We're so glad.
And I was thinking about like you having this book and like giving it to people, you would have posted about it.
I would have posted about it. And I couldn't go back.
Yeah, forever. I mean, it's just like, I'm so thankful. Like when I was saying stupid stuff that there's no record of it. It just happened and it's gone.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. But I mean, I still do like scrubs. I'll even do scrubs. I'm like, did I miss anything from my blog that I
Uh-huh.
had? And
Oh,
just like unpublishing it because I'm like, it's not aligned with who I am anymore.
yeah.
And
I recently
so,
found an old blog that I did in my youth ministry days, and I was just like, oh my God, this is awful. And I'm not going to tell
yeah,
anybody what it is. You can't find it because it's not under my name.
it's
So,
gone.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you've worked as a therapist and an advocate, and so you've kind of seen how predictable this playbook is, right? Like it's almost
Hmm.
copy and paste.
Yeah.
Why do you think that religious spaces are still so blind to this, even when it's like plastered on the news almost daily?
Yeah. Yeah, well, and the cult leaders use the same playbook over and over and over again because it works, right? Like it works. And I just think of that book that I was talking about. Like you're conditioned from a young age, you're supposed to get married, you're supposed to have babies, and it's on you to make your marriage amazing in every way. Here is a book. Do these 5 things, and the thing that you are conditioned to do, your life's purpose from the Lord God Jehovah, is going to happen if you read this book and do these 5 things. And, and in my family, like there was a lot of chaos. There was a lot of ambiguity, a lot of confusion. And to have someone just say, do this and your life will go well and everything will be well for you. It works. It's the same MO every single time. And yeah, we have more resources now and we have more knowledge now, but our nervous systems are really, really active. And if we get this little thing, and it's just like why I see this happen all the time. And I talk about this in the book too, of the second wave fundamentalism. Like we leave this fundamentalist space and then our fundamentalism becomes social justice, or it becomes politics, or it becomes, deconstruction or anti-fundamentalism, and we just put on the same thing
Yeah, I
in a
felt very
different
called out. Thank you very
space.
much.
Okay, cool. Yes, and it's because it works, right? Like, and when we are traumatized coming out of a spiritually abusive community, everything is chaos. We don't have any place to land. We used to have this belief system that we could fall on, and now we don't have it anymore. And we're feeling unstable. Oh, let me grab onto this new purpose. Let me grab onto this new thing that is going to be my new belief system and my new thing that I can hold on to, because we're wired for certainty. We were conditioned for certainty, which is one of my main things that I encourage people to do when you are leaving a high control religious environment. Hang out in the I don't know land for as long as possible. Just be in this I don't know. And that I don't know is an acceptable answer. And even if you think you do know, just say, I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm still working it out. And just having everything in your life just be in this uncertain place and let your body and your system get used to uncertainty and just being in the present moment and not having the answers. We were conditioned that we needed to have the right answers. And as we learn on the other side, there's actually very few things that there is actually a right answer on, right? Like there aren't that many things. So many things are just like what works for us and what's personal preference. But again, that's ambiguity. That's uncertain. That means that if I am allowed to make some choices that are just based on my personal preference and what works for me, that means you also get to do that. And what you choose and what I choose might be different. No. Can we still be friends if we are landing on different places on a certain, preference of something? Can we still be friends when we're in a belief system that is based on right and wrong? No, we can't be friends. It's over. It's done. You are unsafe. I now have to save you, or I have to cut you off. But if we're just developing a sense of values and we're just like, cool, what works for me right now? This book is working for me right now. Okay, this book is not working for me anymore. I'm not reading it anymore. Doesn't work. If we're operating out of a sense of values, personal values, then I can have my values and you can have your values. And if we're not aligned, we can be friends based on the things that we are aligned on. And then the other things, they don't matter, right? Because it's a personal set of values. It's not a belief system that is rooted in a sense of right and wrong. It is really just rooted in humanity. And fundamentalist Christianity, this is like anti-fundamentalist. They're just like, whoa, that's humanism.
Which I remember being taught was like Satanism.
Satanism, exactly.
Yeah.
Like,
you're a humanist, it's satanic.
Yeah, so anti, so many things that I was taught.
Yeah, but back to your like second wave fundamentalism. And like I said, I did feel very called out. I mean, like in a good way. Haha. Because I literally did that. So when I left, when it really all fell apart, and I've said this before, I can remember the moment it all collapsed. I was walking my dog. I was listening to books. That's how I process stuff. I was just like devouring everything I could get my hands on. And I don't even remember which one it was. But the author was reading it, said something, and I can remember just internally, it felt like the world opened up and I fell through this hole. And I stopped the dog and I grabbed onto a tree because internally everything just completely fell apart. That's what it was. Like I pulled out the wrong block in the Jenga tower and it all fell and I wasn't ready for it. So my answer was, I've got to find a better right answer.
Yeah.
And so I didn't deconstruct the system. I just deconstructed. And so what I did was I just dressed up my fundamentalism in better looking clothes and like better language. And it was creating the same stuff. And I didn't recognize until a good friend of mine here in town, he's a pastor at another church, never had to do this. You know, he went to like Duke Theological Seminary. So like he got the whole gamut. Like, here's all the information. Here's what everybody thinks. Not just like, no, this is the truth and everything else is right. So he walked me through that. And he was the one that challenged me. It was like, Joe, you're just doing the same thing you did before. You're just reading different books. And that's when I was like, so when you started talking about that, I was just like, oh my gosh. Yes. All of this.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And even just like the volatility, I think, in the deconstruction space, that can be there of just like, oh my gosh, you said something kind of off, and then, oh my gosh, everyone's posting about it and we're getting canceled, whatever that means, and all of that kind of stuff. It's like, that's the same operating system of these fundamentalist spaces. Like, you wore the wrong dress to church, or you as a child, told your youth pastor about a fantasy, and now you are on the blacklist for the rest of your duration in youth group. Like, it's the same operating system, just on a less organized scale. And I just kind of just repeat. And so having the opportunity to just develop a sense of values as opposed to a sense of beliefs, and like, what are my values as opposed to what is right and what is wrong? What do I care about? What do I want? So hard to do, right? Because we're conditioned not to want things, right? We're conditioned in these fundamental spaces to want what God wants and to surrender our desires to the Lord. So a lot of times we just don't even know what we want. And so taking just a really long time to just discover, explore, be curious, and just hold off on the right and wrong thing for a minute. You're probably going to be okay if you don't have a right and wrong answer, and just let your nervous system get used to just being very present and very curious and not needing to have that right answer. And honestly, I would just say, like, I lived in the whole right and wrong, black and white world my whole life, or most of my life. And being in a position now where it is not about beliefs, it's not about right and wrong, it is about creating a sense of values and interacting with people based on values too. Like, I think that is the most beautiful part of it, right? As it's like, it's not like, are you safe or are you not safe? Or are you, which is like kind of what it's either one way of looking at it, are you good or are you bad? But then after abuse, it's, are you safe or are you unsafe? And which is just the same thing, right? It's literally the same thing. To what are your values? Here are my values. Kind of having a conversation and exchange. And then we're allowed to make a choice in relationships. It's not cutting people off to just say, hey, our values just don't align. And so I'm going to direct my energy towards people and things that are aligned with my values. We're not saying you're an evil person, I never want to speak to you again. We're just saying, hey, I'm directing my energy towards this thing over here because it's important to me, which is it's so freeing. Like, it's so freeing. It's just, it's so beautiful. Relationships on the other side of high control religion, friendships, chosen family, they're so much richer and beautiful and deeper, and the pressure isn't there. And it's really great on the other side, guys.
One of my absolute best friends in the world is, they are, an older queer person. And their name is Dex, and total atheist. But we have shared values. And I mean, they're probably, I don't know how much older they are than me, but we get along so great. And it would have never happened 15 years ago. Never.
Because it's going through a grid of what do you believe?
But they're such a beautiful human being, and they bring so much into my life. And I'm so thankful, because had we not done the work that we did, I would have never met them or their partner. And they're both, we love, my wife and I love to spend time with them. And we do it as much as we can. And it's just like,
and I feel like we need to tell more stories about like that, because that is the hardest thing when we leave, is the loss of community and loss of relationships. And it is the reason why so many people won't leave, is because of that loss. And they know that loss. And like, I have to say these things and do these things, or else my family won't speak to me, my friends won't speak to me, my pastor won't. They know the loss. It is a loss. It is. It will happen. People will distance from you. People will cut you off. You will have to distance from people. That is going to happen. And you are also going to have the opportunity to create really beautiful, wonderful relationships based on shared values. There's not this fear of this love that you're going to, if you do the wrong thing, you're going to lose the love. Like, people can come and go. Like, it's not like the stakes are just so much lower. Like, cool, we're friends now. A couple years, we might not be friends. Bro, it's okay. Like, it's not, my identity is not in this thing and this community and this space.
And I have found that my friendships are now friendships. They're not based on a project. I'm not sitting next to this person waiting for an opportunity to make sure that I save their soul from eternal damnation, because that's not a thing.
Or sharpen them and hold them accountable.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. I can just
literally
be friends.
true
We can just sit and talk. Yeah.
We can just be friends.
Yeah. It's great. Which reminds me of something that you said. I wrote this down so I wouldn't forget it. So you said something in your book that I think aligns with it works perfectly, that spiritual abuse often looks like faithfulness on the outside and feels like death on the inside. And I wrote that down to remember it, but what we were talking about, it popped into my mind, because that's what I feel like. It feels like so many people that I know.
Yeah. We're conforming to what's around us and suppressing what's inside of us. So we are dying on the inside, and we are included and quote unquote accepted on the outside. It's an incongruity that, honestly shows up in a lot of really harmful ways for people, and ways that we're probably not seeing the full impact of for folks. But yeah, I mean, there were definitely times where I definitely felt like I was dying. Like, I am dying, or I want to die, right? Because it was just so, and I didn't know what was wrong. I didn't know. It was like, I'm doing all of the right things. I didn't understand that my entire identity I was suppressing and cutting off and ignoring in order to be a part of this community based on what the community was telling me I was supposed to do. And it does feel like dying sometimes.
One of the things that it is an absolute honor and privilege that I get to do is, it's basically like a small group, but it's more like a healing circle. And the one that I'm leading is called Reclaiming Safety as Sacred. And it's all about relearning, or maybe for the first time, of like how to trust yourself and how to get back in touch with who you are. And you brought up wants and desires. We literally talked about that last week, of trying to help people reframe these wants are not evil. Like they are just, they just are. Right? They just are. Now, of course, can we abuse those things? Absolutely. Sure. Like we can take, whatever and turn it, but just helping people get back in touch with themselves. And so it's literally like, we always open it with a centering moment, and we close with the centering moment. And part of it is literally like, I ask them to place their hand on their chest or their stomach, or maybe even both. And then to just quietly tell themselves, this body is not the enemy. And even just in that little, how healing that can be.
Yeah.
Because like you said, so many of those things made you feel like death. And then it's like just getting back in touch with yourself.
Yeah.
It blows me away.
Yeah. And the control mechanism of getting people to hate themselves and mistrust themselves, that's how it works, right? That's how the control works. If people are ignoring their very identity, their very wants, their very desires at the expense of this community, they're easy to control. It works. It works.
Now, I think you have a really unique perspective. I think a lot of us that are, hopefully, if you're listening to this and you're still in it, go get this book now. Stop listening, pause, go get the book, and then come back. But I think you have a really unique perspective because of the work that you've done. The book is excellent. It names a lot of things that even in ways that I hadn't even thought of. And this is why I bring it up, because you just mentioned this idea of control and how they use it. From your perspective, kind of stepping outside of the book, but still using it as the framework, how do you see what we just got done talking about? How do you see that kind of playing out in American Christianity right now?
Everything is playing out right now. I mentioned a camp that I went to in the book where they train teenagers how to take over the government. And I was a teenager at that time, and those teenagers are now my age. They're the ones that have taken over the government. They were being, they're sleeper agents. They were the ones being trained to do this. What I saw when I was a teenager and what they were being taught to do is what they're doing right now. Like, this was a long game by fundamentalist Christians, many of them thinking, we're doing this for Jesus. We're doing this for the Lord. Like, people that I grew up with, again, some of them decent human beings. It's hard to believe, I know, but it conditioned that I'm doing this as just a holy war for God. And that is terrifying. It's terrifying. I know what these people were taught. Like, I was in the same rooms with them, being taught the same things. And the only hope that I could provide is that I got out. At some point it broke down for me and I got out. But I see people on social media saying things like they're destroying our democracy. Fundamentalist Christians don't give a shit about democracy. Like, that is not on their radar. They don't care. Like, they're like, the Constitution, the Bible comes first. Constitution is man-made. Bible is God-made. Like, that is how they're operating. You can't try to get at them with reason and logic, because they're not operating out of reason and logic. They're operating out of this holy war, righteous war. We have this whole, war on terrorism, a couple decades ago. Like, it's happening right here, right now, in our country with, quote unquote, our people. Like, same thing. Jihad is right here, right now. This is Christian jihad.
It's so funny you say that, because I have just recently started like, wait, what's the difference between this and the Taliban? Like, can you name, what the difference is, right? Yeah.
There's not any difference.
Yeah. It's just a different system. Yeah.
We're not wearing, what are the head coverings called? We're not wearing that, but that's about it.
Yeah. And I think that's a really important point. I think that so many people don't understand that. So like there's a group here in the state of Florida that I do a lot of volunteer work with. They're called Equality Florida, and it's the state's largest LGBTQ human rights organization. And so like when I've gotten to go to the Capitol with them and you know, meet with lawmakers and stuff. And they do a really good job of like, here are the talking points. Here's how we, you know, bridge build. And because they're very strategic, because it's a super majority, it's a very gerrymandered state. But they do a really good job of knowing how to navigate and be strategic in their partnerships to get things done. However, one of the things that I've talked with them a million times is like, but you guys are still missing part of the point. Like you do this excellent. And I'm not asking you to be a religious organization, but you don't know how to talk to some of these right-wing conservatives because you're using logic. You're using like, no, but they're not coming from a place of logic. They're coming from a place of like, I mean, they're like operating in, I don't mean to be dismissive, but I mean, they're like in a Marvel movie. You know, like Thanos is coming. And, you know, and so we're doing the things to prepare for Thanos because there's going to be a big war at the end of the times. And like, we're going to blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that's a point that gets missed a lot. It is.
It is. It is. And it's getting missed right now. It's getting missed right now. If you're trying to build bridges, I guess, and have conversations, knowing your audience, and also being aware that some of these people are just doing it for power. Like they're manipulating the system. They have figured out how to make it work. There were a group of people ripe for the plucking, already conditioned to be controlled and manipulated because they have suppressed their desires and suppressed their autonomy, and for the sake of this quote unquote greater good. And they're ready to be led by somebody who wants to exploit them. And that's literally playing out.
Yeah. And, you know, I think when you say people like that, I think of people like Mark Driscoll, who just completely changed tactics midstream. And now all of a sudden he's having visions and, you know, like, and it's just like, wait, dude, listen, I know that I've changed, but you can watch the slow trajectory of my change towards liberation. His just like doubled down on control and domination and like, oh, this is a vehicle that I can do it and get rich.
Yep. Yeah.
That's what I think of.
People who are intentionally wielding this community and this, you know, sacred text and God, to gain power and control. And there are people who are absolutely doing that. And that's hard. I think that's hard for people to process, right? Especially if like they are finding safety within a religion, and to realize, that there's going to be a pastor who actually is just manipulating people from the pulpit. It's really hard for people to process that, right? Like, it's like slowly waking up to like your parent being abusive. Like, that's really hard for a lot of people to come to grips with, because it's their caregiver and their person that biologically created them. And so to have that, to be able to recognize that the system that you're in, the pastor that is leading you actually might have nefarious intent, is really hard to process and to wake up to. And so, it just makes sense that it just takes people a while to come to that conclusion.
So there's no easy transition because I want to jump into another. I want to jump into another part of your book.
All right.
Because one of my favorite things about your book is that you don't just like diagnose what's broken. You model what healing looks like, and you talk about grief and community and laughter as part of that process.
Yeah.
So you started something called Tears of Eden as a place for survivors to find community. So I'm curious. Number one, can you talk a little bit about that? What that is for people that don't know. But then also, what patterns do you see repeating when people start to unpack religious trauma for the first time? Like if somebody's listening and, like, what are those things that start popping up? for them?
Oh, cool. Yeah. So Tears of Eden is a nonprofit for people who've experienced abuse in Christian communities, support for survivors of spiritual abuse. We create resources. We're just kind of pooling a lot of resources, creating original content, reviewing books, that sort of thing. And then we occasionally do some support groups as well for folks, just to basically just educate and be like, hey, you're not alone. And here also is language to name what you went through. And those are probably the two things, and that's the two things that we focus on, and also the two things that are really helpful for people on the other side of spiritual abuse is having language to name what happened, which is why I wrote the book. And then also, you are not alone, you're not crazy. Other people have experienced this too. The other reason why I wrote the book and the reason for the existence of Tears of Eden is, this is real. and people just need to know this is real. This has really happened. And then also having those dynamics, like the terms that I named of adverse religious experiences, even knowing what religious trauma is, knowing the difference between what trauma is and what abuse is, and just having language to name what happened to us are usually the first starting points of that healing journey.
I got all kinds of stuff popcorning up in my head. I'm trying to decide. Yeah,
I know what that's like.
Which way do I want to go? I only have you for so much time, and I don't want to. Really your point. But so, let's talk about this for just a second. I love the fact that you talk about laughter's medicine. Everything is so heavy right now. Like even if that's not a thing, right? Like everything is so heavy right now. So I love that you talked about laughter as medicine. So I'm curious, how has humor helped you, like in your personal life, as you kind of like hold something this heavy?
Yeah. Oh, it's so important, man. Oh, it's so important. It's so important. So a couple of weeks ago, apparently there was supposed to be a rapture.
Oh, yes. Well, and it was supposed to happen again, like Monday or something, I think. Like
I missed that rapture.
He got the calendar wrong.
He was
using the wrong calendar, and it still didn't happen. I haven't seen what his excuse is next, but yeah, he needed to use a Gregorian calendar or something.
Oh my goodness. So the board of Tears of Eden, we were just like texting each other like crazy of like, rapture's coming, get ready, rapture's coming. Day of, text each other like,
are you ready?
Still heaving. One of our board members is a Episcopalian priest, and she was like, guys, I'm texting from the great beyond. I got raptured. And we're just like cracking up. And it's like, it's so important, right? It's just where you could find the humor as much as possible. And sometimes you can't get to a place where you're laughing about it, and that's okay. That's totally fine. But having the opportunity to just like giggle and chuckle and make fun of things, and finding that camaraderie over the laughter. I'm also an improv performer, and so through like improv have just kind of been studying comedy too, and how that has just played a huge role in my personal life of just being silly and goofy and stupid, and patterning, and just comedic timing and all of that kind of stuff that's just like so helpful for just like being in your body. And in order to have like this like real resonant like laugh about something, you kind of have to be in your body, right? And so it's like a moment for you to be in your body. And then last night I went and saw a play called The Woman in Black, and it's a horror play. But one of the things that I noticed, it's a play. There is a movie, yeah. And there's also a book, but I saw the play version.
But it's the same story.
I haven't seen the movie, so I couldn't say, but I'm assuming yes.
Okay.
Yeah, this is my first experience. I went into it completely blind, didn't know anything about it. And so it's but I knew it was a horror play, and I was like, yay.
I love horror movies.
Man,
yeah, all of it. I love it.
But what I also noticed at the very beginning of the play, there was a lot of humor, a lot of laughter, and I was like, "Oh, they're conditioning us. they're like laying the foundation. They're getting us loose. They're getting us excited, and then something's gonna happen. And it's gonna be like, bam!" And that is exactly what happened. And so, like, just awesome, like that. Oh, it was fantastic. It was lovely.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I also was just like thinking like some of my favorite like horror or thriller movies have a lot of humor in them, right? Like they're just kind of like woven within it. And we're in like we're in a horror movie right now. Like what's happening right now? We're in a horror movie. And laughter, comedic timing, like comedic breaks, like we need that to survive, to get through this. And so, yeah, it's a really important part of my journey. And, yeah, and I think it's just really important to find those opportunities to laugh and let loose.
I agree. Right before you and I had this interview, this conversation, we recorded what's going to be the first official podcast episode. And it's with one of the other creators.
New, right?
It is. It's brand new.
It's just starting. Yeah.
Yeah. So you were one of the first ones.
I couldn't find it. I was like, where are the episodes?
Yeah. Not yet. So you'll be one of the very first ones. Cool. So Jen and I, one of the other creators, we were talking and she was talking about a situation where there's a good news club at her kids' schools and they were advertising, God loves you, like on the first day. And so she was having these conversations that were just like insane. Like, oh, come on, this is a public school. Can we breathe just a little bit? But she said that one of the people said to them, well, it's my job to teach kids so that they don't go to hell. And it'd been so long since I heard that. And it caught me so off guard.
Yeah.
I started laughing, where it was like the tears, because it just caught me so off guard. And it was like, and afterwards it was just like, yeah, if I don't laugh, I'm going to cry.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And they're very close to each other. They're very close to each other. Like, so like, yeah, I just feel like, and I mean, that's one of the things that I love about like stories and theater and like a really well created film or something, of just like when laughter and tears like just kind of find that sweet little ground where like you've been laughing and then somebody says something really poignant and it hits you and then suddenly you're weeping. It's just like that. It's just a real human experience of just like, I've just tapped into like every layer of emotion. And yeah, I just think stories are so powerful for getting at that layer.
You know what I do too, and I don't want to belabor this point because I want to kind of land the plane for you because I got some other questions kind of about what's next. But I think that's why proximity to people outside the system is deemed so bad, so sinful,
right?
Because then we start learning stories, and those stories change us. So it's not like the theology came after.
Next. Yeah.
Well,
what we're sending you, I have one story in my head of like a story from a human being that was one of the first flips switching for me. What do you have one in your head?
Yeah, his name is Brent Roberts. Brent Roberts. We were friends in college. We're still friends, very, very close friends. That's how I met my wife. They were boyfriend and girlfriend. He's queer, but we were at a very fundamentalist college. And when it started getting serious, he didn't know how to break up with her. So he did what everybody, you're not spiritual enough. Absolutely crushed her, but like saved her in the long run. He knew I can't marry this girl, but I can't come out because it's sinful, right? So that's how her and I actually, because we were kind of going through something similar and blah, 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 started talking.
Yeah.
But later in life, because I saw once he finally came out and he got healthy, because there was some alcohol abuse in there, because he's like you said, pushing everything down, suppressing stuff, and it came out in some really unhealthy ways. But then once he got healthy, you could just see his life completely turn around, and it was like, wait, he's out, he's gay, and he loves Jesus like crazy, and he's flourishing, and that really like.
Just got to see it play out.
And it was just like, wait a second, that's not supposed to happen. That's not what. And then that's when it was just like, okay, I had to really confront the idea of queer inclusion, and it was like, oh, this is not the bedrock that I was taught. This is like ambiguous at best.
Yeah.
And we're going to condemn an entire people group on ambiguous language that people are still arguing about? Like, nah, man.
No.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's flip the switch.
Yeah.
Flip the switch.
So I'd love to hear yours.
Yeah, the one that was coming to mind was I was out of the cult system, but I was still in the evangelical church system. I was looking at grad schools, and I went to interview at a grad school in Seattle, and I was staying with a family while I was interviewing, and the family was like, and it was a seminary, and so they identified as Christian, and they were really cool and really fun, and I had so much fun with them. They were like, just like a really cool family, and we like stayed up late talking for like hours and hours. It was just like a beautiful time spending time with them. And then one point, the wife made some offhanded comment about the fact that she had voted for Obama. And I just remember my brain just going like, Christians can vote for Obama? And it was just like, in my head, it was just like, huh. And it was just like, I have been so conditioned that like, if you are a Christian, you vote Republican. Like, that is like, this is what Christians do. And if you're over there, you are an evil, vile human being.
Yeah.
And it was just like, yeah, and it worked. And then it was like, oh my gosh, this is not lining up. And that was just like one of many little things where I was just like,
And you know what? And I bet that if you tell that story to people that never grew up in it, it just like, wait, what?
What?
What did you just say?
Yes.
It's when you say it out loud, like I feel that so deeply.
Yeah,
like
right?
I was Hannitized. For those that don't know, that was Sean Hannity's radio show. We got Hannitized. I called into it. Like I have spoken with Sean Hannity multiple times. And, but for those that didn't grow up in it, it just sounds so ridiculous. And now when you say it out loud, it's just like, oh my God.
Yeah. It was just like, but I knew them first, right? I got to know them and thought they were super cool and had these great conversations with them first. And then that comment came weird. And it was like the relationship, the story, like it was just, an author of mine, an author that I read recently has a quote in her acknowledgments that is, facts don't change people, stories do. And I was just like, that is so important for these stories to just continuing to be told, because that's what's going to get people out of the Christian nationalist cult that we are currently in.
Mm-hmm. So I want to honor your time because you've given us plenty, but there's so many things I didn't ask you that I wanted to ask.
We'll just have to do it again. We'll just do it again in 6 months.
Do it. Yes. So you end your book. You end your book by saying your story, your body, your voice, and your freedom were never the problem. They were what the system feared most. I love that so much. Mm-hmm. It is such a powerful benediction, because that's what it felt like. So I'm curious now, kind of on the other side of everything and kind of wrapping, up this interview. What does freedom look like for you now?
Love that question. What I was chatting about earlier about like the values and just like getting to operate out of a sense of values and to be able to create the life that I actually want, like the life that I'm living right now. This is the life that I actually want. I was conditioned to want something previously, and then I have now over the past decade very specifically worked towards creating the life that I want, and also being conditioned that the life that I want was going to be bad, and that was evil, and that things were not going to go well, and to be in a place now where like bad things can happen, right? Life happens. I'm not saying, oh, I'm in the life that I want and everything's amazing. No, there are still challenges, struggles, stress, issues, bad people. Like it's still that. But having resources now to be able to navigate that, and not everything is high stakes and what is God trying to teach me? And it's just like, just getting to live my life and create beauty and put beauty into the world and interact with people and share stories and create art that's what it looks like now. And if I had known it was going to be this good, then I probably would have left sooner, which is why they don't want you to know. So,
and let me just say, that life sounds lovely.
It does. It is.
Yeah, it sounds lovely.
Yeah.
And Katherine, I just want to say thank you for,
Absolutely.
for number one, for writing the book, for having the courage and the strength to write that book, because I imagine that you had to crawl through some of your own shit to be able to get to, to do this work. So, I felt that so deeply. So thank you for doing that. And then thank you for taking the time to come on here and share with us. I would love to do this
Absolutely.
again. And
Let's do it.
have this number said, I would love to
Yeah.
have this conversation again. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So thank you.
Yeah, we'll see
So
what's
if people
going
are
on.
interested in the stuff that you're doing, how do they find it?
So my website is katherinespearing.com. Tears of Eden is tearsofeden.org. Tears of Eden's Instagram is Tears of Eden Official, or at Tears of Eden Official. And then I'm on Instagram at Katherine Spearing. That's my only social media presence. So those are the best place to find me. I'm trying to do more email lists right now just because of, weird stuff happening in the social media world. And so that's probably the best place to get the most honest content is through the email lists, subscriber lists.
That's awesome. And we'll put all that in the show notes. Thank you again so much for your time.
Absolutely.
It was such a fun conversation. This is easily one of my favorite interviews.
Yay. It was so nice to meet you. Thank you so much for reading the book and for the kind things that you said.
Absolutely. I meant every bit of it. Thank you again. Well, everybody, thanks for following along. Go check out those show notes. Go click all the links. I cannot recommend this book enough, especially if you're coming from a high control religion. For me, this was up there with Dr. Laura Anderson's When Religion Hurts You. Like these two books, these were the books that I would recommend the most. So,
thank you.
So absolutely. So go get that. Thank you for following along, everybody. Don't forget to go to the show notes, check out all of the stuff, follow Katherine, buy your book. I cannot recommend it more. It was fantastic. I resonated with it so deeply, and I know that you're going to as well. If you enjoy the work that we're doing here at Reasoned Reality, I'm going to ask you to do a couple things. I'm going to ask you to subscribe to the YouTube channel. You like and share our stuff. Those are the easiest ways to support what we're doing. And it really does make a big difference. It might seem easy or simple, like no big deal, but it does make a big difference. So go do all those things. We really appreciate all of your help and trying to bring some reason to our world. I hope that wherever you are finding yourself today, that you're having the exact day that you need. And don't forget, friends, you might be the only voice of reason that somebody hears today. So don't be afraid to use it. Until next time.